Hey guys, welcome back to another Backyard Science video. This week is all about ornithology, and so far we've learned quite a bit about birds and their life cycle, their adaptations, and now we're going to talk about why that's important to learn so much about them and how we can protect them as humans. Here we are outside an elementary school, and the inside of the building is quite quiet, no one's there, but outside there's quite a lot of life. And there are a lot of birds, insects, and small mammals inhabiting these trees. It looks like they have set up some sort of house, possibly for bees because the holes are so small within these trees. And why are they doing that? Why is it important to help out the local species in your area? Well, with so much construction, with roads and buildings, a lot of these animals are displaced or no longer have a home they once had. So if we continue to plant trees and give housing to different animals, they can still survive in our area. And that's why, even though we're in the middle of not a city, but a suburban area, there are still quite a lot of organisms living in this area. It looks like there is a nest up there as well. And if you can hear them, you can hear all the birds singing and calling right now. And as you can see, it's right next to a busy street. But these organisms were able to adapt, as you learned earlier, and be able to survive in this area with the help of humans, making sure we don't take all of their habitat. So this is just one example of what humans can do to help conserve wildlife. And we're going to talk a bit more about why birds are important to conserve and what scientists are doing right now for them, as well as what you can do from home. So let's talk about some of the reasons why birds are important within their ecosystem and important to humans. So some birds are considered pollinators. So these would be your nectar-feeding birds like hummingbirds. And when they move from plant to plant, collecting nectar, they are also moving pollen from each plant to another. And this helps fertilize the seeds and propagate new plants. Some birds help with seed dispersal for plants. So if a plant produces fruit like a salmonberry or blueberry, and a bird comes along and eats it, they are also eating the seeds within that fruit. And then they can carry those seeds away as they fly away and deposit them in a new place, which enables the plant to possibly colonize a new area. They are also great at controlling insect populations. A swallow, for instance, could eat over 1,000 leafhoppers in about 12 hours. So that shows how effective they are at controlling bugs, especially during the hotter months. If you're gardening a lot, it's very helpful in your backyard. So if you're trying to attract these natural pest controls, you should definitely have a source of water in your yard for them to want to keep coming back. We have also had many scientific breakthroughs because of birds. An example of this would be airplanes. If you've ever looked at an airplane, it looks surprisingly like a bird. That's not a coincidence. If we weren't looking at birds in the sky for thousands of years, who knows how long it would have been before humans figured out air travel. Birds are very streamlined in their shape, so when they fly, air can flow over top of them and they can fly faster. Engineers used this shape as inspiration for modeling planes. Birds have also been the subject or inspiration for many scientific studies. One study, done in 2007, was able to determine that songbirds have a strong right brain response to the sound of songs. And from this, they could potentially have breakthroughs in the understanding of human speech disorders, like stuttering. In Diane's video, you learned a little bit about endangered species, but let's talk about the factors that lead to an organism becoming endangered. Well, there are multiple, but we'll talk about a few. It could be habitat loss, so loss of their home. It could be invasive species, and you learned a little bit about that from Nikki. So another organism coming in and taking all the resources. It could be pollution that contributes to this becoming an endangered species, or climate change, so rising sea levels, rising temperatures, resources becoming scarce because the environment is changing. Bird banding is a method used to identify and keep track of individual birds. Small metal bands are placed on the legs of the birds. Each is engraved with a unique number. This is one of the oldest and most important techniques used to study birds. Ornithologists usually used what's called mist nets to catch birds and carefully record information like their species, their gender, age, weight, wingspan. They band them before releasing them. So what can you do from home to help birds? There are quite a lot of things, but we're going to talk about a few. One thing is, if you're gardening with your family, limiting fertilizers and pesticides will help the overall ecosystem. Make sure you're not poisoning your birds in your area. You can also purchase a bird bath or make a bird bath, or purchase or make a bird feeder. So you have a place for birds to stop, take a rest, drink water, eat some food before they continue on their journey. You can also try to limit the hunting by domesticated animals, particularly cats. Cats can contribute to a large amount of birds dying every year. And if you remember my last video, you may have seen my cat in my backyard. And I wanted to make sure you knew that that cat is only outside when I'm outside. He is quite old, so he doesn't hunt. But if you do have a cat, I encourage you to take them out on a harness and leash. Me and my cat do like to walk down the street together. I'll show some footage for you, just to make sure that he's not getting into what he's not supposed to and not contributing to any decline in population. Now I'm going to show you how I made a bird feeder for my backyard using just an orange juice container that I had lying around. You can use pretty much anything to make a bird feeder. You can even use an old boot, but this is going to be a quick activity. You will need an adult present to use the scissors and hot glue gun, but it's pretty fun and pretty easy. So here I have my materials for my birdhouse. I have some string, I have a stick from outside, I have a pair of scissors. I will end up using a box cutter in this video just because I had a lot of trouble with the scissors. Again, parents need to help you with this part. And then I also have a hot glue gun and of course my carton. The first thing you're going to want to do is cut out a square in the front of your carton, and this is about 2 to 3 inches up from the bottom. So you cut out your square like you see here, and then you're going to want to cut a small hole underneath your square, and that is where you're going to stick your stick in that hole and hot glue the stick to the carton. The stick will function as the perch or landing spot for birds, and in the inside of your hole or of your square is where you're going to put all of your bird seed. Once you have your stick glued in, you are going to want to poke 2 holes at the top of your carton, and that is where you're going to thread your string or twine through so you can hang it from a tree. And when you're done with that, if you'd like to decorate your carton, feel free. You can paint it, you can draw on it with markers. I particularly like the orange colors and didn't want to wait before putting mine up. I was excited to see if birds came, so I went straight outside and hung my bird feeder up outside.